Hello, this is the Squarespace tutorial on the advanced options in the dashboard settings, and then also how to add and edit content. So when you sign in, you'll usually see the pages, design, commerce, metrics. If you didn't log out the last time you signed in, it might bring you right to the page that you were editing. But anything that you are in over here, if you just keep hitting the back arrows up here, you can get to your dashboard overview eventually. So let's go down to settings and advanced options. The 404 page can be helpful if you have a page that's not linked. This is what it's going to say right now. It'll bring you automatically to the home page. You can try searching for whatever content you're looking for, and it'll give you a range of options to choose from. So I usually just keep it as the default, but you can make it so that it goes to any page that you want in your entire site if it can't find the page that somebody's looking for. Somebody types in an incorrect address, or you have a link that goes to some place that it can't find for some reason. It's always good to have a 404 page setting. Sometimes what I usually do is I will set up a custom 404 page and keep it back here in my unlinked pages. If you go all the way back to pages, your unlinked pages are down here. These are pages that unlinked means they're not going to show up in your main navigation. Secondary navigation shows up in different places on different templates. Sometimes it might be off to the side. On Alex, it shows up down here in the footer. And it's basically pages that people might want to get to, but you either have to include in text or image links to them, or have a secondary navigation area because they won't show up in the main navigation. So I'd create, a 404 dummy page down here and just have it say, something, sorry, but we can't find this page. Go get a cup of coffee while we reload. Actually, so then you'd make this into a link to the home page. Then you can put whatever banner image. You can kind of do whatever you want. And then you come back to the settings advanced, 404, and if you'll notice, now 404 dummy is in there. So they'll come up and they'll automatically get here. You don't have to do that. It's just something that I like to do. System default's just fine. Otherwise, you can send it to any page that you want. As long as it's a current page in your site, you couldn't send them off to another site or something like that. Save it when you get done and go back to advanced. Default text editor is never something that I mess with. Rich text basically means it works like a Word document, whereas markup means that you're actually typing in HTML. So I would just keep it as rich text, which is the default, so you don't have to worry about it. Escape key, basically the site frame is this thing here, what this little arrow does. So if we click this off and hit escape, then the site frame, actually, never mind. I've never actually messed with this. So we'll shrink or expand the site as long as you're logged in, otherwise take you to the login screen. Oh, okay, so if I wasn't logged in, I could hit escape and it would log me in, which is kind of handy if you're on another browser. So I always like to have two browsers up, one to view, or one to edit, and then one to view when I'm not logged in as a visitor. Because something I'll get to when we're in the actual editing of this thing is it doesn't always look the same, because when you're editing over here, your site takes into account this area that's taken up by the dashboard, so everything is going to be slightly off, um, especially if you do any sort of custom code. So it's always good to have it up in two browsers and just look there um, and see kind of what it looks like. Otherwise, take you to login. Save. Still trying to figure out what this escape key thing does. So far, it doesn't look like it does anything. Well, it's definitely not letting me log in if I'm not logged in. Maybe I have to log out here. I don't know. Either way, it's not too worth it. Sorry about wasting your time with that one. Import export. So you can import content from WordPress, Tumblr, Squarespace 5, Blogger, Shopify, Big Cartel. You can export selected content to WordPress. If you have it set up, I don't generally mess with WordPress, so I've never done that, but it's always an option. If you have a current WordPress site, this is usually for importing blog posts and things like that, because if you try and import actual pages from your WordPress site, it's going to force them all into the Squarespace template that you're on. So it might get tricky. If you have a current site that you're kind of just trying to rebuild and redesign, I would recommend just doing the content by hand. It's probably going to be quicker and less of a headache. External services, Google Analytics. You can definitely add in an analytics account number if you want that upgraded tracking. Squarespace does come with a pretty advanced metric system that I'll show you in another tutorial. That'll probably give you pretty much everything that you need if you're just doing a basic site. When you're adding Amazon, you can also have your Amazon associate tag here, so that any products that you create or Amazon items that you add to the page will count towards your Amazon revenue. Developer mode basically lets you mess with all of the code. You do need the professional or the business plan to do this, and unless you know code, I would definitely not, because it's very easy to screw up their template. But if you wanted to add a class to every Squarespace block on this page and have it doing something, or wanted to just tweak it a little bit to make your custom code changes a little easier, which we'll cover in the custom code tutorial, you can definitely turn on the developer mode. I generally don't mess with that, because if you get specific enough with your custom code, you can work with the Squarespace code. I've taken sites and completely customized them using the custom CSS and code blocks, and it's been completely fine. I've never had to do developer mode. Code injection, however, is something that you might want to do. So you enter code, and this would be where I would, if I was adding JavaScript to this site, or doing a specific style that I wanted on something on every single page, or if I wanted to add code to the footer, which I can do from the footer content block. But if I just wanted to do it from here, add paragraph, copyright, whatever, and put it down there and then style it right there, can do that. Site-wide lock page. I actually don't know what the lock page is, so I'm just going to leave that one alone. Code that injected to the order confirmation. So Squarespace, this is for the commerce part. Squarespace has their code set up saying that it's going to be all of these things are pretty much already in the order confirmation. But if you wanted to add a custom message, or if you had a third-party service that tracks all this stuff, like counting service or something like that, you could send them that information through HTML or PHP down here. So I usually just go with the standard Squarespace default. Let's see, URL mappings. you can change the location of certain URLs. Which probably the only thing that you'd want to use this for is if you were creating a custom mobile page or something like that. Squarespace comes with a mobile option, but if you wanted to mobile redirect and jump to a different site or a page that you're, you know, a different mobile site that you created on your own or something like that, you could do this. Or say you set up a page that you just wanted to use as a bouncing board to something else. Like if you had, you know, this up here and then you had our old site and they clicked on that, it would immediately kick them to that page through this redirect, rather than having to go in and trying to hard change that link. I don't know, that's pretty much all you'd use URL mappings for. Image importing, if you have an image that you're getting from someplace that has this extra metadata information, you can add that in when you add an image block. I usually don't mess with it. That's pretty much it for the settings, other than the 404 page and the code injection, which I use to add in the JavaScript for the sites that I do. I really don't think that you need to mess with any of those. So basically, let's turn to actually editing and putting in some content. So when you start, you'll notice that all of these will say demo, which means that they have content, and Squarespace is going to want you to create a page like this, which basically means it's going to take all of the content on this demo page, which right now is nothing for this one, but this one does have content, the best friends. So it's going to say, okay, I want to edit this, get rid of their content, put in my own. Well, first you actually have to create that page. So it's just going to put their content in there, and then I just like to delete it and start from scratch and save. That's pretty much how that works. So usually I kind of am familiar with how the templates work, so I'll get rid of pages that I know I don't want. And let's get rid of, actually we'll just get rid of this whole deal. And we'll get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that. And we'll get rid of that. So I'm just clicking on a little trash can that shows up when I hover next to them. So basically right now I've got our story, which is the index page. Index pages are kind of funny for Squarespace templates because you can't edit them. Notice index edit doesn't really do anything other than let you edit the title of the page, which you can do from here. In the settings, you'll notice the edit. Once you edit that name, you always have to go into settings and edit the URL as well, because for some reason that doesn't change. Notice that the navigation title and things did change, but that doesn't. So now we've got homepage, but wait, this still says our story. That is because it's actually reading this page. So that's the one funny thing about the Alex template is the index page and this page usually say the same thing. And again, we got to do homepage. And when you're doing a URL slug, there can never be capital letters, can never be spaces. So always lowercase, always hyphens in between. Oh, already in use. So let's do homepage 1. And notice how that changed that for both of these. If we click on this as well, it's now going to say homepage. Oh, and once again, sometimes Alex template is funny for some reason. If you click on it, it doesn't bring it up. Control R to refresh, or refreshing your browser will get that content back up there. There we go. And it says homepage. And there's only 2 navigation things over here because there's only 2 pages right there. So for Alex, since the index page is a single page parallax scrolling, it's going to just scroll through these 2 pages. If I added another page down here, it would now scroll through all 3 of these for the home page, or the index page, sorry. Which that is kind of annoying. So it'll scroll through all 3 of these. Test, since it doesn't have a banner image yet or any content, it's just going to show up as a black page right there. So once I show you a couple other page things, I'll show you how to adjust that. You can add more main navigation by adding a folder, which we'll just have some stuff. Notice it's an empty folder, and this is add page. Since it's below this, you know it's adding a page to this string for the index page. Since this is below the folder, we're adding a page to that folder. And we're actually going to add 2 of them because I want to show you what the folder does. Folder is basically handy drop-down nav. So it's going to have whatever pages I have in there. If I want to change the order of them, just drag, and now they're changed order. You can have as many as you want, and it'll drop down, but one thing to note is if you have like 30 of them here, your drop down is going to get cut off. So just kind of be careful about how many you're putting in each folder. Same thing on the phone, on the mobile version. And you can see the mobile version down here and kind of interact with it down here. So the folder, if you click on it, if you have 10 of those, it's going to cut off all of your other navigation. You can also see it'll go to iPad view. You can see the devices up here that it'll go to. So that's kind of helpful for when you're laying out your responsive designs and things like that. Other main nav that you can add a blog page, add a gallery. Galleries, if you add them here, are not like galleries within the site. If it's a page, each site has a specific setup for the gallery page. And you have to kind of conform by its rules. So usually if I want a gallery, I'll just create a regular page and put a gallery in it. That way I have a little more control over the rest of the page. You can also add an events calendar. You can add a link to another page and add URL, which it's not letting me do. Oh, remove link. Let's try that again. So link, click URL. Oh, for some reason it's not letting me click to a URL. Might be that my internet's a little slow today, but yeah, usually you can add in a URL link here. Oh, let's not do Gmail. I'm trying to paste that URL in here, but it's just not going, so. But usually that's, excuse me, usually that's what you do. You add the link in down here and it works just fine. I don't know, maybe Alex doesn't let you link off particular things. Album I've never actually added. You can add a products page, which is good to have as a non-linked page. If you want to have e-commerce, you'll have to have all your products set up off one page, and then you add them here later. Cover page is just basically a holding page, or you can add another index page that is a single scroll parallax page, or a regular page. And that's pretty much it for how pages run with the Alex template and the advanced settings. In the next tutorial, I will show you how to actually edit the content.